would you be, as a Tennessee fan base, well, let's go this direction, disappointed with a 10-win season? If you look at the rest of the schedule, Tennessee will be favored in all but one game, and the expectations have changed. Would you be disappointed with a 10-win season? I cannot believe that I'm speaking the words, but at this point, if you look at the schedule, if you look at what should happen, Caleb just told you that football and happenstance usually don't go hand in hand. If you look at this schedule, Tennessee should finish the regular season 11-1. They should. Crazy already said he'd be mildly disappointed. Amanda, you're the world's best at how to phrase these things. How do you want to phrase it?
Well, I was going to say, after the win against Alabama, how far do you think this Tennessee team will go and put a 10-win season, or SEC championship, or playoffs, or winning it all, just to see where the fan base thinks this is headed.
Brittany said I would definitely be underwhelmed. Disappointed is a strong word. Okay, how would you feel if Tennessee only won 10 regular season games? How about we go disappointed, underwhelmed, cool with that, awesome, keep it in perspective. Something along those lines. Do you like that?
I mean, we can do that. I think you're going to just get a lot of, I would be disappointed.
That's what I want to see. I want to know if this fan base, because you shouldn't be. I mean, Caleb, at 10-2, I understand what's happened, but this is still a team with a secondary that ain't great. I mean, things could go wrong. Hendon Hooker could actually throw a couple of interceptions. If you look at the odds of probability, at some point he's going to throw a couple, right?
Yeah. I think people forget just how I don't want to say that. I don't want to say this sounding wrong. How thin this Tennessee team still is in certain areas, and the secondary stands out the most.
I agree.
And I mean, but let's just not even talk the secondary. We're giving the defensive line a lot of praise for how they've played the last few weeks, and rightfully so. But what happens if Amari Thomas gets hurt? You know what I mean? I mean, they're in I don't know how deep they are at defensive tackle. They're an injury or two away from having. What happens if on the offensive line, Cooper Mays or Darnell Wright gets hurt? You know, can they just throw guys in? We know they can do that at receiver, and we know they can't do that in the secondary. And that happens in football, particularly as it gets colder. How many times have we seen teams have really strong wins to get off to a 6-0, 7-0 start? They get to number 5 or number 4, and then they kind of flame out in November. I'm not saying Tennessee's going to flame out in November. I am saying that they're as vulnerable to that as any of these other teams that are well coached but just don't have the depth yet that they need to have. And I think 10-2 is worth keeping it in perspective in that regard. I also think that if you're worried, think about the long-term future about the program if they go 10-2. Clemson under Dabo Swinney from about 2011 to 2013 with Taj Boyd would reel off 5-0, 6-0 starts every year. They just weren't deep enough to maintain it down the stretch. But you know what they started doing? They started taking recruits away from Tennessee. T. Higgins, Amari Rogers, Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson. They were building a program based on those fast starts and those top 10 finishes, and it got them 2 national championships in 2016 and 2018. And so, again, I think that I said Tennessee needed to start 5-0, not for the sake of this season, for the sake of the future in recruiting. And we're already seeing this with recruiting. There were a bunch of recruits at both the Florida and the Alabama games. You don't think what they saw had an impact on them?
Oh, yeah.
And
After all, they made Boo Carter's top 12 yesterday, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean,
so ridiculous.
For goodness gracious, announcing a top 12, there were some that were led to believe that he was going to announce a commitment yesterday.
Yeah, but before that, David Hobbs, they made his top 6 2 days ago, too. And remember, Hobbs was I'm sorry?
That's true. Go ahead.
Yeah, and Hobbs was going to North Carolina. He was not – and all sign North Carolina, I'd still say, is the favorite, but the fact that Tennessee's making a run at him is a huge deal. And, I mean, that just shows what they're doing on the trail right now. And, yeah, keep in perspective. If they get an upset down the stretch, either to Kentucky at home or at South Carolina, yeah, that'd be bad. I will say this right now. I don't think Missouri or Vanderbilt's going to be an upset. I think they're going to sleepwalk their way to wins in those two.
I feel
But
the same way about South Carolina, but we could quibble over that point. So,
road
Y'all are
game, just a
peeing.
little.
You're
yeah,
peeing in people's cornflakes this morning, both of you. Pessimistic
I know.
as all get out.
Are we being
Yeah.
I
You're
know
Yes, you
saying if they go 10
are.
2, they should be happy.
Yes, but what I'm saying is let these people ride this train for a moment. Let them
They're going to have
go
it for another
for
week.
it.
They're beating UT Martin.
Yeah, we've done that all week. Thank you, Solo. Loving the show, Hook. I appreciate that. GBO from TK81. So thank you. So okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and say it that it would be a little. Okay, so let's phrase it: disappointed, underwhelmed, cool with that, awesome, better than expectation. So when you get that posted, I will reshare that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tell you what you should be to tell, and Amanda, to address your pessimistic point. I'm going to tell you what you should be. You should be darn happy. If Tennessee wins 10 games this season, that should not in any shape, form, or fashion be a disappointment. It should
Yes.
not.
But it seems like and it's the same thing. It's the same problem I had with the whole the referees are going to steal this game from you. It seems like we're setting people up to not get their hopes and dreams just crushed. Like that's what it seems like to me, that we're saying, okay, if you only win 10 games, you should be happy about it. Like we're setting you up here so that when it all comes crashing down, then you're not going to be, looking over trying to jump off a bridge.
Well, no, I mean, there's no setup. There's just simply, I want to know what the fan base thinks.
Yeah, and let's keep this in perspective because people keep calling. We talked about it last week. Josh Heupel, Steve Spurrier 2.0. If that's the case, Steve Spurrier is on the Mount Rushmore of SEC coaches. He didn't lose fewer than 2 games until his 6th season on the job, 95. He lost at least 2 games from 1990 through 1994. Spurrier did. So I'm like, we're talking again 10-2 in your second year. Given what you walked into, if you're Josh Heupel, I'm with Dave. They got to be like, they should be through the roof excited about that when you keep things in perspective.
After you beat Alabama, though, after you beat what was formerly number 1, now it's number 3.
Well, we already
was
agree
number
that
3.
11. I think every objective Tennessee fan would say 11-1 is the best case scenario, probably, because I don't think anybody thinks they're beating Georgia on the road. If they do, then Josh Heupel should get they should throw $100 million at him. You still think they're doing that, Amanda?
Yes, I do.
You're still calling it. Wow.
Yes,
okay.
I still think they're going to beat Georgia. I don't think Georgia.
Have you reset your expectations to 12-0 then?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Here we go. All right, that's our. That seems like a pretty appropriate question then.
I mean, if they beat Georgia and win out, Heupel should get $100 million a year salary. He should be the highest paid coach in college football.
That's a lot, but it's not Georgia. I've said this from the beginning. I do not think Georgia is that good. There are 3 games that they've played this season where they've looked like dog crap. If you're going to give me, if I have to choose between Hendon Hooker and Josh Heupel or Stetson Bennett and Kirby Smart, I'm taking Hendon Hooker and Josh Heupel. And it's not because Tennessee's full of talent and they're talented in areas, don't get me wrong. It's because the way that Heupel's coaching and the way that they're running the offense, I just, what do we call it? A veer raid? The way that they're doing that, I just don't see how Georgia's going to be able to stop them. That's just my opinion.
Okay, so what are our options? Let's close this deal. What are our options?
Devastated, a little disappointed, better than expected, stoked.
I love it. I'll tell you what you should be. You should be stoked. But I think that what's going to happen is that you will see Tennessee fans be in that second category. I think.
Wow, Jason Martin says she's schooling us. Okay.
David said, and people are, and somebody said in our chat board too that The Brittany said the rest of the schedule is just so favorable, with the exception of Georgia. It is. Solo saying, no, we beat Alabama. Let's win it all now. This window doesn't open very often. It doesn't. So, yeah, let's get that
That
question
is
out
true.
there. And
It's out there.
oh, okay, great. I didn't get a notification.
Well, then also, I will say, if they go 11-1 and lose to Georgia, and Georgia beats Alabama in the SEC championship game, I mean, they're still probably in the playoff at that point. If Alabama beats Georgia, it's probably not going to matter. But if Tennessee goes 11-1 and loses,
no,
I'm saying if Tennessee goes 11-1 and loses to Georgia, and Georgia goes undefeated, I think the best move then would be for Georgia to beat Alabama, because then Tennessee's only loss would be to an undefeated Georgia team. If Georgia goes undefeated and loses to Alabama, which of the two? They're not going to put 3 SEC teams in the playoffs. Everybody's talking about that. That's not happening, guys.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that if Tennessee loses to Georgia and then Alabama beats Georgia in the SEC championship game, I do not think that Tennessee gets in. I think they're the 5th team, first man.
And Alabama and Georgia get in together.
Yeah.
I don't agree.
I don't think they're going to get 3 teams in.
No, I don't think they'll get 3 teams in at all. But I think if Georgia beats Tennessee, depending on how close that game is and its home field advantage for Georgia, if they beat Tennessee, barely squeak by and win that game, because I don't think it's going to be a blowout if Georgia beats Tennessee. There's no way. If they squeak by Tennessee and then they go and they lose to Alabama in the SEC championship game, I think that Tennessee goes. And I think Alabama goes. I think Georgia gets left behind.
Yeah, but that's tough, particularly if you look at the whole resume. What if Oregon keeps winning and Georgia's got the best non-conference win of all of them now, of Tennessee?
Well, we would all agree, I believe, that it's going to be that the winner of Michigan Ohio State's going to get in, right?
They're easily getting in, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. Like, Georgia would have the best resume of the Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia all having one loss.
I don't know, because those 3 games that Georgia struggled against Mizzou, they struggled against Mizzou. I mean,
yeah, but they also beat Oregon
real bad. But
I mean, Oregon,
that was
the non-conference win.
Yeah, but they had a whole year to prepare for Oregon. That was their first game going in. They had a whole year to prepare for that game. So they knew exactly what Oregon was going to do. Plus, Oregon has Bo Nix, and they play in the Pac-12. Like, Oregon
yeah, but if you're comparing non-conference wins, like Tennessee's is an overtime at Pitt, Georgia's is 49.
Oh, we lost a little something with Caleb there. What happened?
I don't know.
Oh, Caleb's breaking up. Caleb, we lost you.
Sorry.
I
think I'm back.
Go ahead and finish your point. Go ahead.
I was saying, yeah, I just think Oregon is Alabama's best win is best non-conference win is a close one at Texas. Tennessee's best is a close one at Pitt. Georgia's beating the brakes off of Oregon. And honestly, you put Oregon against Pitt or Oregon against Texas on a neutral field, I think Oregon wins against either of those teams by 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, maybe even more. I think Oregon blows out either of those teams.
Caleb, you're doing a fantastic job. I appreciate it. I got to get to Jonathan Crompton, and I'm not going to ask for your prediction against UT Martin, but I am going to ask for your prediction on the remainder of the season. So 9, 10, 11, 12 wins, if you had to call it right now, given what you've seen. Quickly.
Okay, I'd actually go 11, believe it or not. Even though I'm saying they should be happy with 10, I would go 11.
Love it. All right. I appreciate it, Caleb. We'll talk to you soon. You can check out Caleb's fantastic work on Off the Hook Sports. Appreciate you, buddy.
Have a good one, guys.
Jonathan Crompton coming up next. Devastated is how you should feel if Tennessee just wins 10 games. Devastated. Heartbroken. Forlorn. Is it forlorn or forlorn? Forlorn?
It's forlorn, not forlorn.
Devastated. Pull out your thesaurus.